All right, it is 6:30, so we are going to call the meeting to order. Will you all please stand with me as we do a moment of silence to honor those that gave the ultimate sacrifice? Thank you for that. With that, I'm going to have Darcy Burke lead us in prayer tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. If you please pray with me, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight with gratitude. Thank you for being a God of love who is with us now and always, and for making each of us in your own image with dignity and infinite worth. Thank you for our mayor, city manager, city staff, and city council members. Thank you for their service and the work they do on behalf of all of Canyon Lake. We come together tonight as a community made up of complex human beings, carrying burdens, joy, and most importantly, hope. Help us, Lord, to trust you more. Let us work together to heal wounds, as well as share the joy of accomplishments, both big and small. We pray that you would be glorified tonight through the City Council's decisions. We pray that our common good is upheld when we all listen and respond with love, kindness, honesty, and respect. We pray for wisdom, strength, and courage to do what is right and good. We thank you again for this council, our mayor, our city staff, our first responders, our veterans, and all those who work to make Canyon Lake the wonderful city we call home. In your name, amen.
Thank you so much.
Father,
Appreciate
Son, Holy
that.
Spirit, amen.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, will you please lead us in the pledge?
Okay, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, will you please conduct the roll call?
Councilmember Castillo. Here. Councilmember Dane.
Here.
Councilmember Terry.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Welty.
Here.
Mayor Smith.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Alrighty, closed session report. Mr. City Attorney, anything to report out?
Okay, this was a long one. Hold on.
No problem.
So item A, nothing to report. Item B, this was the conference with labor negotiators item. We did not conclude that discussion, so the city council indicated a desire to go back into closed session following open session. Let's see. Item C, nothing to report. Item D, nothing to report. Item E, nothing to report. And we did add item F, which is a claim of one John Zeitz, which was received after the posting of the agenda. Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report on that claim, though.
Thank you. Approval of the City Council agenda. Mr. City Manager, anything to change?
Nothing to change.
All right, I do need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Welty,
Second.
second from Councilwoman Jennifer Dane. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Castillo. Aye. Councilmember Dane.
Aye.
Councilmember Terry. Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Smith.
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Ceremonial matters. Well, the first one is we have a new city clerk. Can we give Cheryl a round of applause? We are so excited to have her. She has been absolutely amazing. She has hit the ground running, keeping all of us in line as best as we can. So thank you so much. Congratulations on your first city council meeting with us. She was here in the audience, I believe, last council meeting, but this is your first one. So
Thank you. Hopefully I can figure out how to use the microphones tonight.
that's all right.
It's like an initiation.
I love it. All right, moving on to Ceremonial Matters Citizen of the Month. Mr. Walmsley, where are you? Can you come up here? You want me to come to you? You stay right there. You stay right there, Mr. Walmsley. I got a floating mic. Actually, you know what? I'll do it this way because I'm not the only one that has things to say about you. Look, he's going to come up anyways. Okay, good. All right. All right. Anywhere you want. You're in charge tonight. Most of us all know Jack. Jack has been around a very long time, and Jack is an amazing man in this community. He's helped us through so many things. He sat on every single board possible for the city of Canyon Lake, including our first city council. Jack was instrumental in helping us become a real city, so he's to blame for all the troubles that we have to deal with today. But honestly, Jack, you continue to give service to this community, and you never say no. So it was easy for this council to make the decision to make you our Citizen of the Month here in Canyon Lake. And I'm going to let my colleagues say nice things about you because they all want to. And I'm going to start with Mr. Welty because he's dying to say some good things.
Yeah, I met Jack many years ago. He walked up to me and began talking to me. Before long, I realized the incredible richness of his experience and his knowledge and how long he'd been in the community and how dedicated. And from then on, to a large degree, he mentored me through a lot of the paths I took. I served on a lot of the committees he did. I served on the POA, so we very much related to him. And he was always a voice of reason, and he was always a voice of history. And it was just incredible that he took the time to spend with me to give me the education of where we came from and ideas on where to go. And by the way, Jack, like the beard. I think that's a great look. I think like the way it looks. So congratulations. But I am personally indebted to you for everything you've done, and I want to make a personal thank you also besides just the city. So thank you.
Thank you. Casey?
I remember meeting you when I was running for election, and you were so encouraging. You were truly someone that I've tried to emulate as a public servant. I know that you have committed and dedicated your life to serving the community, serving the city, and I'm so grateful for you. Your institutional knowledge has been so beneficial. We can always rely on you to give us the facts and the history of what happened before we even lived here or before we were born. I'm grateful to you on so many levels. But this is an amazing.
Yes, that's right.
This is an amazing choice.
Yes.
So great job.
Thank you very much.
Someone else? Yeah.
I have not had the pleasure of serving on any committees with you, but appreciate all that you've done for our city. And as being one of our founding fathers,
Yes.
just appreciate how much you care and how much of your life and heart you've put into the city. Just very appreciative of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Mr. Terry?
A life of service. As a 22-year resident of Canyon Lake, I cannot tell you just how appreciative I am for everything you've done for me as a resident. I'm honored to be here tonight. And I can only say, like I said, I can only say thank you. We are in a better place today because of you. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Jack. Jack, you want to say a few words? You can't help it.
Working with the city has been something that I've enjoyed because I enjoy working with the people that we have in our community. There's not one city in the state of California that's set up like ours where the POA is actually larger than the city. We became a city when they got in an argument with the tax people I put for the county. They wouldn't give us any money for the roads, and then said, well, we'll form our own city, take the tax money and do our own roads. So, and that's what we did. And I got some very strong people behind me. Vic Knight, some of you people know Vic. Vic Knight helped me a lot. Warren Kelsey helped me a lot. Chuck Bryant, who used to be the head of the water company. I had a lot of great people behind me, and we were able to incorporate it in about a year, which has never happened in the state of California. Our city is unique. And I would just pass along to the people that are running for the board, to the people that are on the board, that it's very important that we learn how to work with the POA. When I first became a elected official for the new city, I was also on the POA board, so I served on both boards at the same time. That was fun. But it actually helped because I could coordinate. I had to go to both meetings. And I've always felt that there should be some type of joint effort by the POA council and the city council to get together once a month, kind of go over what they're doing and work together. It's not for the city, it's not for the POA, it's for the people. We've got to do what is good for our people. And that's the thing that I would always recommend to the city council and to the POA. For that, I'll shut up.
Well said, Jack. Can we get up here and get a photo with Jack, please? Good job. One more thing. You said you're 32 years old, is that what you said? 32.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Go ahead. Perfect. Thank you.
I have to tell you one little story if you don't
I knew you weren't done. I knew you weren't done.
I just got out of Scripps a couple, 3 months ago with a heart attack, and they put stents in my heart. And when I was on the operating table, I died, and they had to give me CPR and brought me back. And they told my kids that I had a 50-50 chance at that time. And, when I found out how I stood, I looked back over my life, and I've really had a degree. I think it's lucky, I'll put it that way. My first set of parents were killed when I was 2. My second set of parents died when I was 13. And I worked my way through high school. But then the Korean War started, and I was in the Korean War. But the thing that I always kept doing was I've got to keep going because I'm by myself. I was very fortunate to have one of the greatest wives ever was. We were together for 60 years, and I lost her a couple of 3 years ago. But all in all, although I'm 92, I've had a hell of a life, and I'd like to thank all of you people for it.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. Next, we have a recognition of Matt Thompson, Eagle Scout. Councilmember Mark Terry is going to handle that one for us.
Let's give him a
All
big round of
right.
applause.
Yep.
Hi, Matt. Hello. How you doing? How you feeling? Good? Nice. So, Matt, first of all, I'll give you a little background. I'm an Eagle Scout. I said in our video that I'm a former Eagle Scout, but you know better. When you know once you're an Eagle Scout, you're always an Eagle Scout. You have already done great things for our community, both you and your brother. And but today you're here. If you look on the side, this is. I know that's not the one, but this is your current patch, correct? That has your district patch? This is your district patch, correct? Kinda, okay. Well, we used to have a district patch. Mine was the San Gabriel Valley Council, And this year, the California Inland Empire Council is celebrating its 50th year, correct? Is that correct? And so what the Boy Scouts did is they did a contest where you were able to submit a design for the council patch, correct?
Yeah.
Guess who won? You won. Let's give him a big round of applause. You also serve on Order of the Arrow, is that correct? Which is an organization specifically for Eagle Scouts, is that correct?
It's not just for Eagle Scouts.
No?
I'm pretty sure any rank above first class can vote.
Wow, it's changed. Used to be, I think, you had to be an Eagle Scout, you could then enter into Order of the Arrow, but maybe I'm wrong. At any rate, Matt, we are so very, very proud of you. As a city, you are an example of what we want our youth to be. And as a result, the city would like to recognize you for your efforts on behalf of the city of Canyon Lake, but specifically for your design of the California Empire Council 50th Anniversary Shoulder Patch Design Competition winner. Congratulations.
Time. All right. You're in. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, we're gonna mix it up a little bit. Sorry, Mosquito Vector and Control District. I'm gonna have you go just a teeny bit later because I can't let you go before our awesome Water District Director. So, Darcy, it is yours.
No pressure. Mayor, council, staff, residents, and guests, I'm going to try and be quick because I have actually quite a bit to cover. First of all, congratulations, Jack. I have the honor of actually being his neighbor, so it's nice to see him up and about. Welcome, Cheryl. Looking forward to working with you. You have a great team. No pressure. So I want to talk about everybody's favorite topic, which is the Canyon Lake Water Treatment Plant, because everybody asks me, when's it going to go online? When are we going to start pulling water? And we got a bid in, and it was double what we thought it was going to be. So we were hoping for about 180, and we're about $250 million. So we're going to take a little pause, and we're going to go back and see what we can do to lower that number. We have gotten a number of state revolving fund grants, low-interest loans, a number of outright grants, and some earmarks from Congressman Calvert. So we do have a time limit. We also are mandated to do this expansion by the Regional Water Quality Control Board. It's not an option. We get to build this whether we want to or not. So, but the numbers are sobering. So we're going to have to figure out what we can do, where we can get some money to try and offset that. And if we go out back and have to rebid it, if we would have some cost savings as hopefully supply chain issues are resolved and other Buy American issues that we have to deal with. The Regional Wastewater Control Plan is basically the same project, same situation anyway. I did want to mention one other thing about the Canyon Lake Water Treatment Plant. When we did the pilot study, the gentleman that ran that pilot study is Dr. Issam Najim. He's world-renowned on PFAS removal, but he's also world-renowned on cyanotoxins. And he did a little study on what we would have to do with the treatment plant should there be cyanotoxins. For those that don't know, that would be harmful algae. He did neurological as well as liver type of toxins, which would be the most common. And some pre-treatment we'll be able to add will make sure that the drinking water's safe. Now, I'm not saying it's safe to swim at that point if they're in there, but it would be safe to drink. We would eliminate all of that within the normal treatment process, and we would not have to stop and start the plant, not have to have any ill health advisory, and I think that's really important to know that we're thinking ahead. We have been in the budget process for about 5 months now, and we continue. We have grown 30% in the last 12 years, and we have not added one person, so we need to staff up because we can only run to the bone for so long. And we also have what we call the silver tsunami. I have a huge number of very experienced operators and technical people retiring. So we're going to have to figure out how to capture that institutional knowledge, stay compliant, and operate the system. We are going to have the report from our organizational assessment in the next few weeks, which will also lead to how we manage personnel and staffing forward. Last year, we tried to rebrand ourselves. We're bringing it back for consideration tomorrow night, so I'll hopefully have some information for you next month. I really appreciate the honest feedback that council provided our consultant and the staff at the time. It was brutal, but it was necessary, so I appreciate that. And for those at home, branding is not just a logo, but it's the experience you have with our organization. And if you're not having a good experience and we don't know about it, we can't fix it. So I really appreciate that. EPA recently announced a new maximum contaminant level for PFAS, our favorite lake additive, and it's actually lower than the state of California. That won't last. California, I'm sure, will lower it. They like to be more stringent. But the financial impact of taking it down to 5 parts per trillion to 4 parts per trillion could be as much as 20% in operating costs. So it's significant every time you lower that number. And I know it's hard to visualize what parts per trillion is. So I want you to all imagine the Great Salt Lake, and 1 part per trillion would be 3 teaspoons in that Great Salt Lake. And that's to the level that we have to treat. So I could probably go on and on because we have a lot going on. I'm happy to take any questions or concerns. Oh, yes, the drought is over. We hopefully will have, for the first time in decades, 100% allocation from the State Water Project. That doesn't mean we're not dealing with issues on the Colorado River, but for the most part, California is out of a drought, and if somebody tells you different, tell them to call me. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for our director? Any questions? I want to give you a couple plugs.
Thank you.
The first one is I know how much time have you spent on your rebranding efforts. So much so that I know that we talked about it when you invited me out to the desert on that water conference, and your general manager had, he shared words and how much it means to you and how much work has been done. So I'm excited to see that come out. The other thing that I want others to hear, we love our water board director. Darcy does so much work. She answers so many questions on that stupid thing called social media. And I just want to say how much I appreciate you. You've always stepped up. You're part of the Clear Foundation. We missed you at the coffee this morning because you're doing other things. But thank you for all that you do, and thank you for answering our questions day in and day out. And you're always there for every Canyon Laker. So we appreciate you, and I know people behind you agree with the same thing.
Thank you.
So thank you for being you. We appreciate it.
And thank you for giving me time every month. It's
Of
very much
course.
appreciated.
Thank you for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, Canyon Lake Properties Owners Association, President Renee Griffiths, is she here? Nope, okay. We might want to reach out to them and see if they would be willing to send someone else, because I think that's the 4th meeting where we haven't got an update. But I know that Bill Van Vliet sent something in, and I know he just left for vacation, so he still wanted, something from the POA. So if you don't mind, Madam Clerk, would you read that?
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, as Mayor Smith indicated, Bill Van Vliet could not be here tonight, but he did submit a letter that he requested I read into the record for him. Our community experienced a significant increase in crime in the form of malicious mischief over the past month. In March, there were 16 events reported by members in the community and 15 additional incidents of vandalism against POA amenities. In the first week of April, these incidents escalated to an even higher level. A group of teenagers were kicking on the doors of several senior citizens, creating great distress. A 90-year-old woman who recently had an operation to remove half of her tongue to relieve her of throat cancer was terrified when her door was kicked repeatedly late at night. As a result of her operation, she was unable to call anyone to report the incident in real time. Another homeowner was targeted by a roaming group of teens who threw eggs at his house 5 nights in a row. This group wore ski masks to avoid detection on his home cameras. The same group of individuals shot a community patrol officer with a gel or paintball gun and assaulted another group of teenagers who were driving down the causeway on Canyon Lake Drive, beating up one of them. Upon receiving multiple calls from concerned residents, I contacted Mayor Smith for assistance on the escalating situation. He quickly worked with Captain Rails and Sergeant Bailey to mobilize additional patrols from the Riverside Sheriff's Office. Deputies were dispatched over several nights to provide expanded patrols on our streets and surveillance at the location where we were experiencing greater activity. Additional information provided by other residents in the neighborhood and home video camera footage allowed us to identify the 6 teenagers involved in less than a week. Many of these same individuals were also involved in previous incidents at POA facilities. The case is now being addressed by RSO and the POA for further action. This experience is an example of how the city and POA can work together to improve the security and safety of our community. It's also the first instance of a successful referral from our new security camera program. I wanted to thank our residents who provided the information and commend Mayor Smith for his leadership and support in addressing a rapidly escalating situation. His quick work and commitment to working together raised the awareness and brought the proper resources to restore calm and civility in our community.
Thank you. Yes, well, thank all of us, because although that my name was mentioned in that email, as most of you know up here, Bill Van Vliet's been an incredible supporter of what we're trying to do at the city in regards to public safety. And so a couple months back, we did a video together encouraging residents to sign up for our camera program. And because of that, we were able to have this exact experience. And this all happened in the wee hours of the night. You know, I got the phone call at 9:30 or 10 o'clock, but because of the relationship, and we have it with everyone here. Mark Terry tells a story of being on a car accident scene on Canyon Lake Drive North at 9 o'clock at night, and that's just the type of council that we are. Casey, Jen, Dale, all of us. So it's encouraging to know that, you know, our elected officials in this community care so much about this community, and we're working together. So I applaud Bill for sending that to us, and wish him the best luck on his trip. So he's going on a Disney cruise with his 2-year-old grandchild. So I told him he's going to gain 10 pounds because, let's face it, it's a cruise, and he's going to have so much fun. But with that, wish he was here. Next, we're moving on to our Chamber of Commerce, President John Grande. And is he here? Oh, he is here. Perfect. Man, you're a busy boy. You were at the coffee this morning, and now you're making it here for a little update.
My life just never stops.
We thank your wife.
What did you say?
We said we thank your wife for letting you put up with all of us and being at everything. And
That's right. She's probably glad to get me out
and
of
you
the
just
house
came
tonight.
back from a trip too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And another one next week.
Oh, okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff, it's a new face. I'm assuming that's Anna's successor. So,
Yep.
Welcome. I'm John. Nice to meet you. As always, I will keep this brief. We had our membership meeting. Most of you were there on the 22nd of March. And I think we were all very excited at the results. So thanks all of you for attending and for your continued support. And then, of course, the Chamber hosted the POA Forum. I was not able to attend, but thanks again, Mayor Smith, for participating. Our next, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sense of my own notes. We're having our next city and chamber meeting on the 18th of this month, and I think and that's with Councilmember Terry, Nicole Daly, as well as Corey Gorham, and I think we're making some progress and coming up ways that the city and the chamber can work together to help support small businesses. And
You gonna be in town for that meeting?
I will be in town for that meeting.
So let's
Absolutely.
just double check.
Yeah. Next day I'll be gone, but I'll be in town for that one.
Okay, good.
And the event that you all know I've been kind of just pushing for the last few months is coming up, the pub crawl on Saturday, April 29th. A couple things about it. We've decided to reduce it to strictly the facilities here in the town center. We've done that for a few reasons. We want everybody to come, not just Canyon Lake residents, but also we think it's going to be safer for people to be able to walk from one venue to another. There's some alcohol. We're hoping no one's going to overdrink, but just be safe. Give people the opportunity. They don't have to get in a golf cart or a car to go to the country club. So anyway, 11:45 on the 29th. Everybody's welcome. We're looking forward to really having a good time, and it's a great way to stimulate business for the local venues here. Our business roundtable, our first business roundtable event is coming May 3rd at the Country Club, 7:15 a.m. So for the early risers who want to participate in that, we encourage, especially the first 2 or 3 meetings. We're hoping a lot of people come to really, kind of give us some traction on those meetings. So it's going to be the first Wednesday of every month. And then, of course, our business forum committee is coming up which has been spearheaded by Councilmember Terry. And our first committee meeting is going to be on May 3rd, so hopefully by the next time I'm here, we'll be able to discuss the results of that meeting. And then, as always, we always like to take this opportunity to announce our next business of the month. As you all know, we've changed our process where we accept nominations from our community, and then, of course, the council, or the board of directors vets those nominations and votes on that accordingly. We're always looking for a business that supports the unique needs of Canyon Lake, and one of the things that really stands out about our community is we all drive around in golf carts. And there seems to be one business that really supports the golf cart owners here, and that's Sandy Greer of Farmers Insurance. I think many of us get our insurance through her, so I'm very proud to announce that Farmer Insurance, Sandy Greer, will be Business of the Month. I think
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know if she's listening, but if she is, congratulations, but she'll find out soon enough. And before I go back to my seat, questions?
Any questions?
Thoughts, anything? Right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Appreciate you. Thank you. All right, now we're going to go back to, we have our Northwest Mosquito and Vector Control District presentation that's happening. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk bugs.
Yeah. So good evening. My name is Eric Vallejo, and I'm the Public Information and Technology Officer for Northwest Mosquito and Vector Control District. First, I'd like to thank the City Council for allowing me to present tonight. Northwest Mosquito and Vector Control District is a special taxing public health agency that provides integrated vector management services to the cities of Canyon Lake, as well as the northwest portion of Riverside County. We are governed by an 8-person board of trustees in which Mayor Pro Tem Welty sits on. We serve over 900,000 people. We have a coverage area of just over 300 square miles, and we have around 30 people during the summer. And we've been serving Canyon Lake since 2010. Today, I'd like to revisit some of the services that we provided for the City of Canyon Lake in 2022. In 2022, the district trapped over 189 times within the southern portion of our district. From those traps, we sampled groups of female mosquitoes with our district PCR technology, and luckily we had 0 West Nile virus
Nice.
samples, so that's really good news. Our technicians inspected 7,593 potential mosquito breeding sites in the southern portion, and they treated 663 times, which equates to about a 9% breeding trend. We had 102 requests for service from the City of Canyon Lake, and the breakdown of those calls is as follows, so you can see majority mosquitoes. Northwest Mosquito and Vector Control District also participated in many public outreach events throughout our coverage area. And we look forward to partnering with Canyon Lake in the future. We have some great crafts and activities for kids, as well as a district hovercraft that we could bring out that really draws people's attention. So at Northwest Mosquito and Vector Control District, a majority of our work is controlling mosquitoes and the diseases that they carry. With the record rainfall that we've had over the winter, I just wanted to get out this spring and really talk to the residents about ways that they could protect themselves. Tip, toss, take action. So what does that mean? We're asking residents to share some of the responsibility of going around their properties and looking for any standing water sources. Anything about the size of a bottle cap is a potential mosquito breeding site. So if that water could be there more than 3 to 4 days, mosquitoes could breed in it. So go around, do your due diligence looking for these sources, because if you breed these mosquitoes on your property, you'll know it. They're very, very aggressive daytime biting mosquitoes, often called the ankle biters. Also, toss those containers. We don't want to keep those containers around any longer so that they could potentially fill up with water moving forward. So toss them away, get rid of it so we don't have to worry about it. Also, take action. If you're going to go outside, make sure you use CDC or EPA registered insect repellents such as DEET, picaridin, IR3535, and oil of lemon eucalyptus. We also want to make sure that residents, whatever they decide to use, that they read the label and reapply accordingly. So similar to like sunblock, you want to make sure that you read the label and you apply it so you get the best coverage from that. Taking action also means giving us a call at the district. If you see any standing water within your community or on your street, give us a call. Have our technicians come out and check out these sources. They're really well trained, they know what to do, and we could treat it. The sources that we can find are the easy ones. It's the ones, very small cryptic breeding sources that are very difficult for us to find. With this, just reinforcing that same message, tip, toss, take action. We want the residents to call us on the sources. We can manage the sources that we can get to, but it's impossible for us to get into every single backyard looking for every single standing water source. So we want them to do their part, have the knowledge of going around and tipping out those containers. We also wanted to give our contact information. That's my information right there. We want to work with the cities. We want to work with the residents to provide a better quality of life. With this new mosquito, it's really wreaking havoc on a lot of communities. People aren't able to enjoy it like they used to. And it's a change in our biodiversity. So we have to change with it and know what to do. With these new mosquitoes, these ankle biter mosquitoes, they don't fly very far. They only fly about 300 feet. So if you're able to, reduce those breeding sources within that area, you should see a reduction of mosquitoes around your home. Please visit our website, social media for more information on the services we provide. And thank you again for your time, and I'll take any comments or questions.
Eric, I got a question for you.
Yep.
How did you find a way to make what we thought was going to be boring very interesting? How long have you been with the district?
So I've been with I just celebrated 15 years with the district.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. If you would have come, I don't think you came last year, did you?
I did, but
You did?
our district manager gave the presentation.
That's why.
Yes.
Because then we would have been all fighting to serve on it. We threw him on it because, I'm just saying. But thank you for coming forward and bringing that presentation. Any questions for Eric?
I just have a couple of questions. Thanks, Eric, for coming. I remember last time we had a little scheduling issue, and you and your office had to sit out in the stands for quite a while. We had quite an agenda item, so thank you for your perseverance. We have an unusual circumstance here, is that we do have a huge piece of standing water out there, and I don't think we're going to be able to tip it over. So I'd like to introduce you to Darcy, who is basically our contact with Canyon Lakes owner. So I think if Darcy was up here, she'd get up and say, "Don't spray the lake." I think so. There she's waving her hand. She says, "Don't use your chemicals and spray mosquitoes in the lake. You're going to drink that stuff one day, and that's not good." So because of our uniqueness, that we have kind of we want to deal with the mosquitoes. We want to keep them to a minimum. I just hope that you and Darcy can work together and maybe develop a little special communication piece for all people in our area of what to do when the mosquitoes are actually in a body they can't tip over.
Yeah, so a lot of part of our integrated vector management strategy, it's not the old ways of just going out and spraying pesticides everywhere. A lot of the materials that we use now are very mosquito specific, and they're actually OMRI certified for organic use. So they're only going to kill the mosquitoes and black flies. So, we really try to be good stewards of the environment and do our best, and if we can, that's why we really promote that tip, toss, take action. If we don't have to treat a source, just dump out the water. If we remove the water source, then we don't have to worry about treating that water source. So that's, water management, working great with them. That's our main objective.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Excellent presentation. Eric, I would encourage you to, any PSA information that you have that we can share on our social media to get the word out to our residents would be very much appreciated.
Definitely. Like I said, we have, all handles of social media that we like to put stuff. Every time we're spraying, it's on our website, it's on our social media channel, so we really would like residents to look at that, but we know it's not the most interesting topic, so we like to partner with cities so they could push it out to their residents because they have a much larger reach than we do.
I think mosquitoes are a pretty big conversation.
Mr. Terry just wants a juicy picture to put up on social media. I mean, ankle biters beware, so the whole thing.
We have plenty of those.
No, I think we would be all willing to share that, and we could really get the word out. Thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Everyone else good? Appreciate you coming out.
Yep.
Good job. All right, moving on to public safety update. Lieutenant Edwards, the floor is yours. How you doing, my friend?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, staff. How are y'all this morning, or this evening? So for March of '23, we responded to 364 calls for service, which was up 68 from February. We had 12 Part 1 crimes. 2 were aggravated assaults, 9 larcenies, 1 vehicle theft. We also had 4 traffic citations issued, 8 traffic collisions investigated. We had 8 arrests, so 2 for domestic violence, 3 for DUI, 1 for possession of prohibited substances, 1 for being under the influence of a controlled substance, and 1 warrant. So that was 4 parking sites, 2 DUIs, 8 TCs or hit and runs. Our response times for priority 1 crimes were 9.37 minutes, and priority 2 were 21 minutes and 37 seconds. So that about sums it up. Any questions for me?
Any questions for the lieutenant?
In regards to the letter that was read today, I don't know if our residents are aware that they can actually call the city if you're having these issues in your neighborhood. We do respond to that. I think Nicole immediately got in touch with Lieutenant Rails in regards to the incident that was discussed, and less than 3 days later, we had taken care of the situation. Having a full understanding of when to call the police and when to call code enforcement is very, very important. Someone's kicking down your door, call the police.
Call 911, yes.
Call 911. And again, if you see a trend in your neighborhood, don't be afraid to reach out to the city. We will immediately contact Lieutenant Rails, and I'm quite pleased in the way that that situation got handled.
So in that situation there, we did get the video. It was helpful. It was disseminated to our patrol staff. I assigned patrol staff out for extra patrols. That helps. But again, for the community, if they do see suspicious teenagers or people walking around aimlessly, call us. We'll come out, we'll talk to them, we'll see what they're doing there. If they have a reasonable explanation for being there, or if they're just traveling between houses, that's fine. But if they don't belong there, we're going to send them home. So.
Appreciate that, Lieutenant. Any other
no problem.
questions?
As it becomes mosquito season, it also becomes teenager season, as we know. And so just to note that I personally don't believe we should have exactly the same number of officers every day of the year on this regular schedule. There are peak times where, working with the city, hopefully we can find those peaks. They usually happen just the next couple of weeks. And if we can address the problem issues early in the spring, late in the spring or in the summer, then they don't tend to grow so much in the summer. I'll tell you, here's my story, right? So I played tennis for a long time, and the car would pull up, and you'd have nice melodical music, and you'd have 4 other cars turn up, and it's like, oh, how nice. It's a little loud, maybe I should call the POA, but they're having a good time, I'll let it go. An hour goes by, the music is a little louder, the language is a little rougher, now there's 30 cars out there, and then by 9 o'clock, you can't hear yourself think. There's stuff you wouldn't want, me to hear, much less my kids to hear. And I became very cognizant of that pattern and realized that I'm calling when the 10th car shows up, because this happens every night and this is consistent. So just for your sheriffs, I know we all want to be kind and generous, but be aware that these things go from 0 to 60 rather quickly. And as much as you don't like to step into maybe petty things, I think if you looked around for a pattern, you'd see these type of small things just grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And it depends on calls for service at the time, but it's going to be extra patrols in the area, high visibility stuff. So, but it just depends on what's going on at the time. But yeah, the guys that work out here, they know the area, they know the parks. They're going to patrol them and do what they need to do. If they're being reasonable at the parks, then we'll let them be reasonable. If they're unreasonable and it's creating a disturbance for the residents, call us, let us know.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lieutenant. And for the record, Mayor Pro Tem does have a teenager, so just keep that in mind.
Yep.
You might have just ratted him out. And
I have chains and locks, so he's not out there at night. So I see there's a lock pick in the corner of his desk, but I find him, I take him away.
Good parenting. That helps.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right, next, code enforcement. Ruby, you're up. Wow, Ruby, you've changed.
I have.
Please explain.
I'm sorry, our supervisor, Ruby Manzano, had a last-minute emergency.
Okay.
She had to leave, so I'm just kind of filling in.
Perfect.
Please
Welcome,
please
Mike.
keep your questions to a minimum of
absolutely.
zero. So I'll go through the report that she's put together here, and if you have any questions, I'll try to answer. Building and construction violations, 3 unpermitted construction works, NOVs were issued. 4 MPDS violations were issued as well. 2 overnight parkings in the town center, NOV issues were issued. For vehicle violations, 2 inoperable vehicles in public view. Business license, they had 1 violation. A violation was issued. Regulations for BLM loan, 5 citations were issued. Vehicles prohibited on BLM. There's been a high increase of dirt bikes and ATVs out there. One ABA notice of violation was issued. For zoning and planning, 3 unpermitted signages in the town center, short-term rental, 2 new short-term rentals found in the month of, well, this is January, so I'm going to assume that's maybe March. Let's go with January. It says January. Residential rental registrations were at 315, renewals are 278, and pending renewals are 37.
Well,
Questions?
Well, you made the rules that we're not allowed to ask any, so.
I
we
can
won't be
try.
going around here.
I can try.
That's all right. I won't have any. That's all good. No questions. Thank you,
Okay,
Mike,
perfect.
Ruby.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. That's how to get out of it. Well done. All right, Fire Chief, you are up. Oh, we do have the chief, so it's not going to be a hidden person. We get you tonight.
I'm not Ruby.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, City staff, members of the public. Jeff Tunders, your Fire Chief, and I'm here to present our monthly report for the Fire Department. So the month of March for us was actually one of our slowest months thus far. We ran 78 emergency responses. We probably think that maybe the weather had something to do to keep everybody indoors. We think we're out of the rain, but Chief Samuels washed his vehicle today, so we're expecting some showers tomorrow.
It happens.
So of those 78 calls, we had 1 fire response. We had 66 medical aids. We had 2 service calls. We had 7 good intent calls, 2 false alarms for a total of our 78 responses. If you remember last month when I was here, I kind of got up along with the crew that's with me again tonight and left the building fairly quickly because we had a structure fire response during the city council meeting. It was at the 2900 block of Vacation Drive. When our personnel got there, they found that the occupants had come home, had left food on the stove, and that's the result of it. They went inside, the house was full of smoke. Our personnel were there for about a half hour cleaning out the smoke. So there still was damage. It seeps into everything, and so just a kind reminder is to make sure you check your stoves before you leave the house.
Chief, is that a chicken?
I think it was a pot roast.
Pot roast?
It was a pot roast.
A little burnt?
That's what it looks like after 2 hours of cooking at high.
It's okay, people. We can laugh. I know we're government, but we can laugh. We can have a good time. Okay.
The time when these incidents are occurring, again, are fairly stable. Obviously, the early morning hours into the early afternoon hours are our slowest, and then in the afternoon, we peak up. It kind of plateaued here in the month of March a little bit, and so it's fairly consistent. But you can see right around the noon, 1 o'clock time, we do have that spike. This was one of our best months thus far for our average response times. You can see each month so far this year, our times have decreased for our turnout time. So we were at 57 seconds for EMS responses. Our travel time, a little bit longer. It's something we can't control, but still a decrease, still a slight increase from last month. It went from 4 minutes 55 seconds to 5 minutes 10 seconds. But our overall response time dropped 10 seconds down to 5 minutes and 59 seconds. So they're doing a great job of getting out there and responding quickly to our incidents. This is a plot map of where our calls inside the community were during the month of March. So again, a scattering of almost everywhere. Of those calls, we also had automatic aid that we responded to into the communities of Lake Elsinore 10 times, and to Menifee once, for a total of 11 times during the month of March. Again, I point out that these are the zip codes for these addresses and not necessarily in the city limits. So far this year, we've responded outside the city 39 times, so a total of 31 in Lake Elsinore, 6 in Menifee, 1 in Paris, and 1 in Good Hope. And again, this is where those responses outside the community have been. And I just point out, and this is year to date, so far this year, we've gone all the way to the 215, and we've gone all the way to the west side of the 15 freeway. So we're going, in both directions fairly deep into those other communities. And it is a combination of both automatic aid and mutual aid that we're responding on for these calls. During the month of March, Riverside County responded 8 times into our community. Typically, those engines are coming from Quail Valley, Engine 5, Good Hope, Engine 9, or from Lake Elsinore, Engine 94, just up the street on Railroad Canyon Road. So far this year, Riverside County has responded 22 times into the city. And again, this is where they're responding, and again, you notice the heavy concentration of calls along Railroad Canyon Road. Some of that is because of the traffic accidents. We are obligated to respond to all incidents ourselves first, so we handle everything first. So this is just either a second incident or a 2-engine response in that area. Training hours during the month, the rain didn't keep us out. The A shift had 23 hours of training, the B shift had 29 hours of training, and 31 hours of training for our C shift. This month, we focused on fireground simulations. We have monthly reserve firefighter training, and so they did hose evolutions this month. We did area familiarization of the Treasure Island condos and got familiar with the hydrant layout, the boat docks, the access, the pool, shutoff for all those equipment there. The company officers did structured simulated structure fire training, and then our typical turnout drill, so we can practice getting dressed quickly so that we can get to those incidents as fast as possible and as safely as possible. Public education, our community outreach, we were all over the place again this month. The firefighters were recognized and are grateful for your recognition last month at the City Council meeting of establishing their association. They participated in the Read Across America at the Canyon Lake Community Church. They had Girl Scout visits, and I want to tell you, we love them, but we'll be happy when cookie season is over, because we just have way too many cookies. They came and visited the fire station. We put them through some hose evolutions, and got the Girl Scouts out there with the fire hose shooting over our delineators and our cones. We went to the Family Matters Duck Derby, which was kind of fun to watch. And then finally, and sadly, but respectfully, we participated in the fundraiser for Orange County Sheriff Deputy Brian Henley. That was held at the Cowboy. A couple significant incidents this month. On March 3rd, we had an auto versus person into a garage, and the person was pinned there behind that. And then, as most people remember, on March 25th, we had the vehicle that crashed into multiple parked cars on Longhorn Drive. Fortunately, there were no injuries on that one, not like the first auto accident on March 3rd. And so, I hope everyone had a great Easter, and our Easter Bunny came by and visited the fire station. And that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief?
Great job. Thank you.
Glad to see the fire guys here. Thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate you. I just feel bad that our community is fattening you guys up with cookies and brownies and all the good stuff. All right. That's our public safety update. Moving on, public comments. Do we have any?
Mayor, we have none.
Wow. Okay, consent calendar. Any council members willing to or wanting to pull any item from the consent calendar? If not, I do need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Mark Terry.
I'll second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Dale Welty. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Mr. City Attorney. Okay. Aye.
Passes 5-0.
All right. No pulled consent calendar items. Moving on to public hearing. Jim Morrissey, you're going to be on deck for the next 1, 2, 3. You got water, gummy bears, whatever else you need. All right, public hearing number 4, update to the safety element to the Canyon Lake General Plan to meet the requirements of state law. Public hearing is opened at 7:23.
Mayor, members of the council, Jim Morrissey, planning staff. I just told the fire chief as he put the gummy bears in front of me, I'm trying to resist.
It happens.
So don't egg me on that, please. With regard to the safety element, it is one of the 7 state-required elements of the general plan. It was prompted by our action on the housing element. We've hired a consultant, Atlas Consulting. Aaron Fanningsteel is here this evening. He's going to run through a PowerPoint for you. He can give you kind of an overview of the the element, what steps were taken in going through the process. This is a public hearing. We've had it evaluated at the state level, and we'd like your input if you have any comments. We've had the environmental document prepared and sent out for public review, so this is the last step. So I'm going to introduce Aaron and have him run through the presentation for you. Oh, there he is.
Thanks, Jim. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. If I can, I'd love to go with the same rule of no questions. Is that okay?
Depends.
So yes, we're here tonight to talk about the general plan safety element. As Jim had indicated, this is one of the required elements for a community in California, either a county or a city, to meet state law. And we're talking about it tonight because, as Jim had mentioned, it's triggered by the housing element update. And over the last 10 years, the legislature's adopted a number of Senate and Assembly bills that are triggering the new requirements that this new safety element is meeting. So Senate Bill 1035 essentially linked the safety element update to the housing element update. And so with that, it then triggered Senate Bill 1241 dealing with wildfire hazards and working with CAL FIRE and the California Board of Forestry and Fire Protection, Senate Bill 379, which deals with climate adaptation, and then Senate Bill 99, which deals with evacuation. So what a safety element is required to address are the topics you see on the screen, things like ground shaking, where earthquake faults are, where landslides are, where flooding hazards are. And so we look at all of these various topics and we essentially apply those that are within the city or that may impact the city and that the city would want to take action on. From there, we then focused in on those new requirements. So through Senate Bill 1241, this is again addressing the wildfire hazard conditions within the city. What you see on the screen is the map showing the very high fire hazard severity zones. These are the areas that now trigger the requirement that any new development needs to meet the California Fire Safe regulations. And then through that process, working with CAL FIRE staff, we were able to get their approval and then ultimately the Board of Forestry and Fire Protection's concurrence and approval on the element update last year. And so that cleared the way to bring it back to City Council for adoption. For the Senate Bill 379 piece, when it comes to climate adaptation, what this really focused on is ensuring that future city services and operations can adapt to any changing climatic conditions. And so the focus here is really relying on the work that was already done by WRCOG's Resilient IE project. This identified all of the potential changes that could occur from a climate adaptation standpoint. And as you can see on the screen, what we're looking at is what would potentially happen to city operations and how can we address that from a policy perspective if temperatures increase significantly from now until the end of the century. And this is a way to really plan ahead. Then the last piece about Senate Bill 99, this is really focused on single ingress egress conditions. And what the mapping shows is there are definitely locations within the city where you have a one-way in, one-way out situation. And what that helps the city do, and especially city staff within your fire department and your sheriff's department, is to understand how to effectively evacuate some of these locations because they may have additional constraints that others may not. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Tonight, the action before you is to adopt the negative declaration, initial study negative declaration, then ultimately adopt this safety element update.
Don't worry, he's not Mike. You can ask questions. Any questions? Wow, you did that good. All right, testimony by proponents? None. Testimony by opponents? Response by proponents? None. We are moving on. 7:28 is the time. All right, discussion by City Council. If there is no discussion, I do need action on this in order to play ball.
I just have my comment is most of these requirements we're talking about is driven by state requirements. I don't believe any of this came internally from the council. So in order to comply with our state law and our housing element, this is a requirement, and we're changing those elements to come into compliance.
Correct, yeah. This is all driven on state requirements or changes to the California Government Code.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see anything that totally would disrupt what I feel we should be doing, so I will support this.
Okay, I do need a motion and a second to adopt the negative declaration adoption resolution 2023-13 and direct staff to file the notice of determination. Is that correct, Mr. City Attorney? Are you good with that?
Great with that.
I'm trying to make our Madam Clerk happy by reading everything. So, I do need a motion, and I do need a second.
Second.
I think you made it, Dale, but you got shot down by the ladies. So we have a motion by Councilwoman Casey Castillo and a second by Councilwoman Jennifer Dane. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you so much. All right, we are moving on. For those of you following along at home, we are on item number 5. This is conditional use permit. Jim Morrison, you're up again. This is a conditional use permit for the establishment of the Tattoo Parlor, which is going to be MXU, Mixed Use Zone, located in the Canyon Lake Town Center, and the address is 31580 Railroad Canyon Road. Public hearing opened at 7:30 exactly.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, good evening again. Yes, this is for a tattoo parlor in the town center. Couple important things relative to the staff report. An item was brought up quite a number of years ago relative to tattoo parlors in town. I noted that. There was an urgency ordinance adopted several times. There was no subsequent action. Kind of led staff to believe that maybe there was a concern about those types of uses. We surveyed cities in the area, identified that information in the staff report relative to how they handled it, relative to having processing procedures such as a conditional use permit. We follow along with that. We are allowed to add, into the allowed uses based upon determination that I can make of uses that seem to fit a particular category. At one time, I was working with one jurisdiction as a side story in which we literally looked through the phone book. Those were all the uses that were permitted in a city. Typically, you don't do that. You give categories and other uses are similar. And in this particular case, we felt that it'd be similar to several uses in the conditional use permit category. We kept the applicant in that. We've notified the public, advertised in the newspaper, and I have documentation in here also relative to what the city of Menifee has also adopted as far as their particular requirements. So the recommendation to you this evening is find that the zoning ordinance, have I got the right one? It is not in the staff report, I apologize, not a zoning ordinance amendment, but the conditional use permit is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15061B3 because it can be seen with certainty that there's no possibility that the activity in question will have a significant effect on the environment. It's typically referred to as the common sense exemption.
Yep.
And approve the proposed conditional use permit subject to the attached findings and the conditions of approval. Be happy to respond to any questions. The applicant is here. They're available for questions. They don't have a presentation.
Okay. So what's the history? Why is this a problem? Has it been in years past with the previous council? And
I'm not quite sure. That's an excellent question. It came up several times. I wasn't able to determine what the reasoning was behind that. I took a leap and assumed that someone proposed something and someone was concerned, so an urgency ordinance was brought before the council. There's an initial phase. That initial phase was extended to the longer phase, but then there was no follow-up afterwards. So it just seemed to die. I don't know if the proposal had been withdrawn by then because it had lasted so long. The applicant gave up, so I really can't respond to that.
well, that's ridiculous. Okay. Any other questions from council on this?
I have a question. Do we have any distance requirements from schools, from churches, from libraries built into this?
No.
No, so it's whatever is available we could do.
Yeah, So the amendment in the mixed-use zone, the only location for the mixed-use zone as of today is the town center. That was action that the council took to allow for the specific plan that now covers the town center to provide both commercial and residential housing there. So the mixed-use moniker is literally residential and commercial. It just applies to the town center. So it's not spread throughout the city.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any additional questions?
What is an investigative permit?
The building department wanted to make sure that they could have the opportunity to go out and look in the business just to make sure that what was there met code. Because typically, they don't do any type of inspection. Someone just establishes a new use, they're similar to the prior use, which is similar to the prior use, et cetera. They'd like to have an opportunity to go in and just look to make sure everything meets the requirements. So that was the intent.
Good questions. Any others?
In response to Councilman Welty's question, there are some standards that it's supposed to be within 500 feet, can't be within 500 feet of another tattoo establishment, and within 500 feet of the nearest public entrance of a public or private school, church, or similar facility.
I think you're referring to the Menifee requirements.
Oh, is that what that
Yep.
is?
We don't have requirements in regards to tattoo.
Okay, so that was included as the attachment.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was
Yep.
just,
Okay.
I
That was an
wanted to
example.
demonstrate what
But
other
I think it would have been
cities did.
anyway. I think the location would be anyway, where it is.
Something I can tell you, we did go through this when we were doing sensitive use buffers for the cannabis
Correct.
retailer. It is very difficult to find,
You can reframe it. Unachievable.
unachievable, to find a location in the town center that is less than 500 or more than 500 feet from a school and a library, is the way our town center is
Which is
arranged.
why we did 50.
Yeah, I do think that 500 feet's probably essentially going to be impossible. Although I'd like to consider more reasonable, say 75 feet, just to, so kids aren't walking out of the church and they, we have a library and a church. Is there reasonable access for locations that they could get if we put that standard in place?
So, you're talking about distance requirements that are contained within a zoning ordinance. But what you have in front of you is a conditional use permit. So you have a specific application that has a specific location already picked out. So I think the discussion, instead of deciding what a sensitive use buffer would be appropriate, that's a legislative act that you could do it at another time. What I'd recommend is you look at this particular application, look at the distances it is from sensitive uses, and determine whether you can make the findings necessary for the issuance of a conditional use permit. Does that work, Jim? Does that make planning happy? Good, okay. I want to make sure it's the right answer. The other thing I wanted to note, and I wasn't sure, Jim, it's very common to have a zoning ordinance come forward and a conditional use permit that is contingent upon that zoning ordinance be approved. Is this conditional use permit contingent upon Action 6 being approved and going into force, which is the zoning ordinance?
That's a very good question. So the intent, what the city attorney is referring to is that there is general language in the mixed-use zone. It doesn't specify specific uses. The intent always was in the town center to utilize the C1 zone and all those criteria. So your next item on the agenda attempts to solidify that particular requirement. The finding is something that the code provides in many different zones, and I don't think it's a stretch necessarily to be able to make that determination as part of the mixed-use zone. I guess it would just depend on how you viewed it, but it's not the intent of staff to really tie those together. The subsequent item on the agenda is intended to firm up the connection, which right now is a little general.
Thank you.
Any following questions for staff before we address testimony by proponents? Nope, we good? Cool. Mr. City Attorney, you're good? Great. You're out of gummy bears. All right, testimony by proponents. Do we have any? Testimony by opponents. Response by proponents. All right, closes the public hearing at 7:39.
Mayor, can I just make sure we have a clean record on that?
Yep.
Testimony proponents includes the applicant, so if the applicants want to talk on this application, speak to it.
The applicants are here for questions only.
Okay.
You good? Cool. All right, discussion by city council. Crickets.
I have no issue.
I have no issue.
Cool. I'm hearing motions and seconds everywhere. Let's roll. Any other comments? No, we're good. All right, I need a motion.
Second.
Awesome. I have a motion by Councilwoman Casey Castillo and a second by Councilwoman Jennifer Dane. I do need a roll call vote.
Mayor, we are introducing an ordinance tonight. Would you like me to read that title into the
Yes,
record
please.
before we do that? So we're introducing ordinance number 235, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Canyon Lake, California, approving an amendment to the Canyon Lake Municipal Code, Title IX, Planning and Zoning, Section 9.30.202, mixed-use zones, uses permitted.
Now can I get a roll call vote?
You may. Councilmember Castillo? Aye. Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Terry? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you so much. Moving on, business item number 6. Consideration of the amendment to the Canyon Lake Municipality Code, the mixed-use zone, Chapter 9-30-02, use permitted. Again, Jim Morrissey, you're up.
Mayor, members of the council, yes, as was indicated, the intent of this particular item is to merge the requirements of the C1 zone into the mixed-use zone so that there is specificity with regard to the uses instead of the general nomenclature that we currently have. So without further ado, the recommendation is to find it exempt from the code section mentioned, approve the ordinance amendment to the mixed-use zone, Chapter 9.30.020.
For the record, the public hearing opened at 7:41 on this, just so you know, just for the record. All right, questions by staff? As you guys whisper and mumble? No? None? Okay, this is easy. Testimony by proponents, testimony by opponents, response by proponents, hearing none. All right, public hearing is closed at 7:41, exactly 60 seconds. All right, discussion by city council.
So I take it what we're adding to this is C, is that correct? I believe the A and B already exist. Am I reading that correct?
The A and B.
Looking down at proposed ordinance language.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes. So incumbent within item C is a whole list of uses that have different categories for that, yes.
I hope this is directed in the right direction. I hope I'm doing this correctly here. But, so commercial uses as listed in C1, General Commerce Zone, which the town center is currently zoned C1, is that correct?
The town center is currently the MXU, the mixed-use zone. The intent was that the C1 zone that was there apply to the mixed-use zone and the specific plan. The mixed-use zone does not have the specificity of the C1 listed uses. It has general statements about the types of land uses which are allowed. What we're doing here is attempting to, I think I used the term, kind of solidify that bond to provide specificity, what type of use fits in this category and whatnot, so it's just greater clarity. So we're following through on what we've been trying to do for quite some time. So the uses that are reflected in the town center now are the uses that are being added.
Okay.
Any additional questions? All right, hearing none, I do need a motion and a second for ordinance number 235. And can you please read it in?
Let's do that again. Ordinance number 235, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Canyon Lake, California, adopting an amendment to the Canyon Lake Municipal Code, Title IX, Planning and Zoning, Section 9.30.202, mixed-use zone uses permitted.
Perfect. I need a motion and a second. Come on.
Second.
There we go. Mix it up a bit. I'm getting heavy over here. All right, we do have a motion from Councilwoman Casey Castillo and a second and a third from Mayor Pro Tem Dale Welty. Sorry, Mark, you got it just by a little bit off. I need a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Castillo? Aye. Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Terry? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you so much. All right, we are moving on. Business item number 7. This is a resolution to support local control of land use issues. This is me. This is my thing, right? Okay, so local control. So I had the opportunity, Darcy invited me to go out and speak at a water conference, and I ran into a gentleman who's a council member, and he presented this very idea to me. A bunch of cities have joined on with a partnership of supporting local control. And Canyon Lake is the perfect component of that. You know, you've heard me say it multiple times. We try to keep Sacramento out of our beloved city to keep this place paradise. And it was encouraging to hear that 79 cities? Is that what signed on? So 79 cities have already signed on to this, and we'll be city 80. And the entire purpose is to work with other municipalities that believe in the same concept of local control. So pretty simple. Thought it'd be pretty cool for Canyon Lake. I had our city manager look into it to make sure we weren't signing on to some crazy nonsense, and she vetted it, which is why it's before you tonight. So any questions for myself or Nicole? Comments? Absolutely comments.
My comment is Canyon Lake is best situated to decide what Canyon Lake needs.
Amen.
Absolutely.
I wish we could add a piece that said, the Sacramento says, don't require it unless you fund it. That would be my, yeah, it's not on this one, but if I was to have a second one, that's what I would put.
Cool. Easy peasy. Thank you, guys. I do need a motion in a second.
Motion.
Cool. Third, fourth, and fifth. You got the motion, you got the second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Castillo? Aye. Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Terry? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Business item number 8. This is appeals of building official determination extending expired building permit 2018-260. Stephen?
Yes, I am handling this one.
Have a good night, y'all. Thank you for coming.
This is technically a public hearing, so if you could gavel us in, Mayor, and give us a time.
Absolutely. This is a public hearing?
It is.
Wow. 7:47. Public hearing is now open. Mr. City Attorney, it is yours.
Thank you. So in the vein of no good deed goes unpunished, the city council, in attempting to assist those homeowners who are building properties, have a little bit more flexibility when building on sloped lots, adopted an ordinance back in October of 2022. After that ordinance went for second reading, an individual who was building a house or home in our community came forward and requested a inspection on an outstanding building permit that he had. That building permit had expired under the city's rules and the extensions that the state of California had issued because of COVID-19. The date of the permit was to expire 180 days from the date of the last inspection, with the addition of 180 from the state for COVID. The permit expired April 30th, 2021, due to no activity. So when the owner came in and said, I'd like a new inspection, they were informed, your permit is expired, you're going to need to get a new building permit. They said, fine, applied for a new building permit after the new ordinance went into, had the second reading at the city council. And although the purpose of that zoning ordinance was to allow greater flexibility, unfortunately, in this incredibly unique set of circumstances of this one particular structure, it would have been in compliance with the previous version of the ordinance, and it is not in compliance with the new ordinance. So there were a couple of options here. Could have denied the building permit, said tear it down, build it again. That seems a little harsh under the circumstances. The owner could have applied for a variance, although variances are pretty disfavored. And, you know, what would the unique topographical conditions of this property be? It has a hilly slope. So do a lot of lots in Canyon Lake. So, harkening back to some of my experience in other jurisdictions, a recommendation was made. You know what? Why don't you just appeal the building official's determination that your building permit had expired? There's some unique circumstances here. I'm currently doing hearings in other jurisdictions for extensions and appeals of expired permits because a lot of owner builders and even smaller builders had significant difficulties and delays through the COVID-19 pandemic, getting labor, getting materials. A lot of projects sat idle for months at a time through no fault of the owner at all. And so we thought that that was probably a better way to bring this forward to the city council. You have a unique circumstance. The issue is that the permit expired. If the permit didn't expire, then they could continue building under the old version of the zoning code. So that's what you have before you. That's staff's recommendation, that you consider an appeal of the building official's determination that the building permit is expired and authorize an extension of up to 730 days. My understanding is that it's almost done. The other thing that I don't actually have here, but when I spoke with David, he told me, I said, okay, but how high over the limit are we talking about here? Right. And it was like less than 2 feet.
Right.
It's a architectural feature. It's like a spire.
Yeah.
But if it was removed, it would cause significant hardship. At least that's what the applicant's alleging. So staff's recommendation is for the city council to consider an extension of the building permit, overturn the building official's decision that this permit itself was expired, with some conditions. Those are that all life safety requirements meet the 2022 California Building Code requirements, all of which the applicant is currently compliant on. So that should not be a problem. You should not hear anything further on that. The building height will be determined by the zoning requirements prior to the October 22nd, 2022 zoning change. Sorry, October 2022 zoning change. And just a general statement that this is a very unique circumstance as a result of a change in our zoning code and the pandemic's impact on a project in our community, and that this is not going to be something that the city council is going to be entertaining a lot of in the
Of course
future.
not. Questions to staff by council?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So, I guess I'm just a little confused on what the difference is, because didn't we agree to a higher?
Are you asking me to do math?
A higher limit? So if it's higher,
But it's
why would it
not
have met
higher.
it before and it does now?
But it's not higher in all circumstances. So the old language was, the building can't exceed 3 stories or a maximum height of 40 feet, right? What the new thing says is that when you have a slope greater than 10%, and that's what we have here.
Right.
And we're gonna be measuring from the street grade, the front lot line to the rear lot line, right? You cannot exceed any of the following criteria. A maximum height of 45 feet as measured from the average finished grade, so it's like the middle, right? A maximum height of 25 feet as measured from the top of the curb height at the grade. I think that's where we got into trouble. That wasn't a requirement before, right?
Okay.
It's a requirement now. And again, it's like a couple of feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, less than 2 feet.
And it's
It's like an architectural peak.
Yeah, it's not like the flat roof is 2 feet high. It's like one little part of it.
It's the peak, and Stephen, our city attorney, went out there with a sawzall, and he just couldn't quite cut it down, which is why we're looking at this
I
tonight.
tried getting different measuring sticks for the
Right.
building department.
It just didn't work, right?
That didn't work either.
Yeah. Any other comments?
I have a comment. The gentleman requesting this came forward in good faith, got a good permit, built the house according to the permit he got at the time.
I could find, when I was reviewing the facts, I could find nothing to fault the owner. I mean, could they have moved faster? Sure, but a lot of people would have loved to move faster during the pandemic, and they simply couldn't.
Correct.
And as a city, we'd like to provide some expectations that when you get a permit, we're going to do everything and to build something, that we're going to do everything we can to get you to carry through with that permit as long as you behave responsible. And I think this is the case. And so I feel that this is a good thing for the community, a good thing for the member or the resident.
And just as like a sidebar, we obviously we have our own building department in-house. We're still developing our own procedures. Some communities send out 30-day warning letters before permits expire, things like that, to make sure that people understand, your permit's going to expire. If you don't come in and renew it, you're going to be subject to new zoning codes and things in the future.
Right.
There are a couple things we're looking at now. We're hoping not to bring more of these forward.
Any other questions by council? All right, testimony by proponents. Testimony by opponents. Is the permit applicant here? No?
Oh, he is here, sorry.
That's enough for us. That was perfect. All right, response by proponents, hearing none. We're going to close this public hearing at 7:55. Discussion by city council. This is a no-brainer. I think this is good governance-y. That's all I have to say. I would like to make the motion if someone wants to second it.
Second.
Cool, we mixed it up. Motion by me, second by Councilmember Mark Terry. We do need a roll call vote, and this is for appealing of building official determination extending expired building permit 2018-2060. Do you need to say things now, Madam Clerk?
Mayor, can you say by how many days you're extending it?
Oh, man, you do math.
Up to 730?
730 days, we're going to extend.
Okay.
Building permit 2018-260.
And no more.
Why the number? Why not 800 or something?
If we do round numbers like that,
It makes it easy for your mayor?
No, it feels less formal. Like
Okay.
we try to have very specific
Fine,
numbers.
you win.
Yeah, it
We
feels
do have a
fine.
motion, we have a second, we need a roll call vote.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane? Aye. Councilmember Terry? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep eating those gummy bears, Mr. City Attorney. All right, number 9, this is fun. Establishing and appointing city council ad hoc committee. City Manager, are you prepared to take this one?
I am. Good
Cool.
evening. So this item is, last meeting, if you recall, we established a public safety ad hoc committee. As I expressed then, ad hoc committees are a great way for us to have 2 members of the city council join staff or any other agencies, even potentially businesses, et cetera, in trying to form programs and policies for the city. Currently, the city does have several different committees that exist for events, for example, as well as scholarships and awards. And what we're trying to do here is establish 4 new committees and eliminate some of those existing committees. The 4 that we're looking to establish include a Lake Elsinore Unified School District Articulation Committee, a Canyon Lake Property Owners Association Articulation Committee, an Economic Development Committee, as well as a Community Engagement Committee. I should say that last month, the Lake Elsinore Unified School District did appoint 2 members from their board to serve on the Articulation Committee. This is something that's done in our region with some of our other cities in this area, and it will be a great opportunity to have a standing meeting with the school district to discuss issues related to our schools, even our youth, some of the things we've talked about today, maybe working in collaboration with the school district to find ways to better inform our parents to watch their teenagers. And so we will need 2 people from our council on that articulation committee. And what we'll do is usually a quarterly meeting with them. And that, again, if it's needed. If not, we can always cancel it. The Canyon Lake Property Owners Association, we heard from Mr. Walmsley tonight about the importance of trying to meet more often with the POA and find ways for better collaboration. There is an intent from the POA, and they have expressed that they'd like to move forward with also appointing 2 individuals to that committee. Again, setting a set date or a regular frequency for these meetings, but canceling if not necessary. And then the economic development would be more focused internally on some of our economic development initiatives we have in the city already. And then community engagement is focused predominantly on engaging with the community, events, scholarship, public information, special events. That's some of the things that we'd like to do with that committee. So tonight, we're asking for the council to appoint 2 individuals to each of these committees. I would also recommend that as we move forward, when we get to the new year and the mayor takes over, we would then at that time have the new mayor confirm whether those appointments stay the same. So we won't have to bring this back on a regular basis. That will then be set annually moving forward.
Sound good?
Yeah.
So the three that we got to look at is school board, POA, and economics, is that correct?
And community engagement.
And community engagement. Is it okay if I make some recommendations to the council?
Absolutely.
Colleagues? Any objection on that?
Sure.
So here's my recommendations, if you guys are okay with it. School board, I think a good fit here is Councilwoman Jennifer Dane and Councilwoman Casey Castillo, if you're okay with it.
I do have a child in the district,
Okay,
so.
conflict?
Why is it?
No, it wouldn't be a conflict.
Perfect.
Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to give my recommendations and then you guys strike them down after I give them all, in case we want to like?
Strike them down.
Okay, so that was my recommendation for that. For POA, I would love to serve on that with Councilwoman Casey Castillo. Economic, I was hoping Mayor Pro Tem Dale Welty and Councilmember Mark Terry would do that. And community engagement, I don't know.
Can I say something?
Yes.
So currently, as it sits, Councilwoman Dane and I are on the different committees that address this, specifically Veterans Day, scholarship.
Events. Would this be the same?
Community engagement, yes.
So can
we'll
we keep that
replace
the
those
same
two.
then?
I don't want to leave. I love it.
Yeah, I don't think, you guys don't have a problem with them staying on that too, right?
No, it's good.
I just wanted to clarify if community engagement was something different than what we already had standing.
No, what we will do is we'll actually eliminate those
combining?
other ones.
Nice.
And then we'll only have these four plus the public safety.
Then I think that's a no-brainer, in my opinion, I think that's a no-brainer if everyone's okay with that. Does anyone have any objective on the school board, POA, or economic? Is everyone good with that plan? Wow, we get along. Good?
Dale, you sure you don't want to be on the POA committee?
If you want to give it up, I'd be happy to go on it, so you.
It's your call.
I mean, I think you have a lot more institutional knowledge there than I do.
I'd be happy to do it if you're comfortable with that, yeah. Okay, well, if that's okay, I'll go on.
You ready to run the marathon? All right. So we have our committee appointments. So just to recap, school board, we're going to be looking at Councilwoman Casey Castillo and Councilmember Jennifer Dane. POA, it's going to be myself and Dale Welty. Thank you for stepping up and serving. And then and I've already told Bill Blankenship too about Mr. Terry, and they just had a meeting actually. They just had dinner the other night. So for our economic, we're going to be looking at Mayor Pro Tem Dale Welty and Councilmember Mark Terry, and then community engagement, our Councilwoman Casey Castillo and Councilmember Jennifer Dane. We are good to go.
Is that a
Yep.
motion?
So I do need a motion on this and a second. Motion.
Second, there.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Perfect. All right, city manager comments.
I just want to say thank you so much to the community for continuing their warm welcomes, and to staff as well as the city council for your patience as we continue to learn through this first month that I have officially survived. Staff's been really great in helping me catch up and very patient, so I just really appreciate that. And then just welcome to Cheryl, and excited to have her as part of the team. We will get there. There's little things we learned tonight. We appreciate everybody understanding that. And then I'll finally mention for the chief, because I should have encouraged him to do this, but we are going to have an open house at the fire station on Saturday, May 13th. It happens to be Mother's Day weekend, so if you want to come down and have some sausages and hot dogs, or just brats, okay, brats, and just see our fire station, meet our fire department. It's a great time to do that. So save the date, May 13th, 10 to 2, and I'm sure he'll bring it up next meeting as well. Thank you.
All right, moving on to, you know what, city attorney, you got any comments? We don't ever let you speak. Any updates?
My comments are not on the agenda, Mayor. Nice try.
Council members, Councilwoman Casey Castillo, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. So I love looking out into the room and seeing attendance. We really appreciate y'all coming, and it kind of revitalizes us, I think, to not just be speaking to ourselves. So it's much appreciated. Thank you for toughing it out. Well, I don't even know what time it is, but I appreciate it very much. We have good news. So the city is, again, going to fund transportation to State Recreation Lake Paris for the Junior Lifeguard Program. That program is fully in effect right now. If you were a participant last year, you can just go on and register. There's no need to try out again. However, for new attendees, we do have a stroke clinic that is going to be at the Lodge Pool from 7 to 10 on Saturday. That's in partnership with the POA. So we're super excited about that. Hopefully, we get a bunch of kids out there who can strengthen their stroke so that they have a successful tryout. Tryouts are April 29th and then May 10th if you cannot make it to Canyon Lake. The good news about that is that we continue to raise funds for scholarships. We've had a couple of different groups who have, or individuals who've put in. So I personally just want to thank the community for continuing to step up and sponsor those groups. Councilwoman Dane and I are working on special permit workshop. The date is to be determined because we're diving deep, right?
Yes.
Love it.
Okay, so, and we are looking for feedback.
I love
So every time I post my cell phone on social media, I mean it. Please reach out and call me and or email. I never, ever receive phone calls about it or emails just tagged in social media. So I'm trying to log those comments. But again, if you are a club that has a real concern and you've actually been affected, I would like to know who you are. Because the ones that I've talked to kind of, you know, hem and haw about it, we want to be able to serve you, and we can't if we don't know who you are and how you've been affected. Additionally, I'm just very happy to be here. This is a great council. I love the energy. And Cheryl, welcome to the team. It's nice to see you, and we're grateful for you. And happy Wednesday. My kids are both playing Little League right now.
Love it.
And they're winning, so that's good too. Go Canyon Lake.
All right, Councilmember Mark Terry.
Had the honor of attending the Crystal Apple Awards with our city manager, Nicole. And I love going, but I would highly suggest that Jennifer Dane go next year as well. I know that Jennifer, Councilmember Dane, serves on our Student of the Month. That's kind of her thing. And in Student of the Month, you're recognizing students for their exceptional effort. This was a little twist where the students actually nominate a teacher. And I thought that was a real interesting twist. It was a great event, and very thankful to have been invited. I'm very excited to continue meeting with John Grande and our city manager in looking for ways that we can support our local business. I would also like to recognize the Canyon Lake Chamber of Commerce. I thought their forum or their candidate, Ask a Candidate, was that what it was called? I thought that went real smooth. Great attendance, and I thought they did a very good job at coordinating that. Have a great week. Have a great month.
Thank you, Councilmember Mark Terry. Jennifer Dane. Councilwoman Dane, you are up.
In follow-up there, I had the honor of attending the Student of the Month yesterday. Corey went with me. It was a great group. Oh, and there's a picture of us. We had two Canyon Lakers that won yesterday, so hopefully we'll be able to honor them soon. It's always such a good event that makes me happy.
So
and
awesome.
Love having staff come with me. Cheryl went last month, so that was nice. So it's nice to have other representation.
Oh, yeah.
And in talking to, the one really nice thing about this group in particular, the superintendent talked to us yesterday and said out of all of the Student of the Month groups that he has seen through his years of doing this, they're never as well attended as the Lake Elsinore one, but with the same people and the same community leaders and business leaders in the community, because it's such a good program. So I very much appreciate that. The only other thing that I wanted to say is a thank you to Mayor Pro Tem Welty for covering for me at RCA this month, because I didn't attend.
Teamwork. Mayor Pro Tem Welty, you are up.
Thank you. I did attend the SCAG Environment and Energy meeting this month. It was very interesting, as I heard about it was all about water this month, and it was about all the water that was being wasted and goes into the ocean that could be saved and could be used. And I've got to give it to Darcy and to our areas. Last time I think any water left our watershed and hit the ocean was probably 3 or 4 decades ago, because it all gets caught up either in our lake, Elsinore, or it goes down to, I think it's called Lost Lake down there, the old fishing lake. And as Darcy will say, we don't use the water that comes into our watershed once, we use it twice, because it goes out for other uses. And so I think we're doing a great job. So when we're in that meeting, I was listening, and they're talking about gray water requirements maybe, and I'm thinking, well, we really can't have any gray water, because our Lake Elsinore will dry up if we use all our gray water. And it is a real concern, is that with all these settlement ponds and requirements, that the water going into Lake Elsinore could possibly decline every year. So we're kind of defeating ourselves because of the uniqueness of our watershed. But that being said, I attended my Vector meeting. We had Vector in today. Everybody got to see what they're about. That was a great thing. I just want to talk a little bit about the public safety. The streets in Canyon Lake are very unique. It's just not cars going down the street, and it's just not bicycles going down the street. We have bicycles, cars, electric bicycles, golf cars, and so the amount of complexity of our streets is inside the community is a little higher. And I don't think we can take the attitude of, hey, the speed limit's 35, damn it, I can go 35. That's not the reality I think we should live in. We should live in the reality is that when there's too many conflicting vehicles or pedestrians or people walking down the road, let's just drop your speed down and go down to your 15 and be very safe. I was going to tell about an episode. I was taking my kid, he just got his permit, so I'm giving him all these lectures about driving. So I'm driving down the road, and some guy in a truck has his brights on. And so I overemphasized that see how you slow down when the brights hit you and you go down to 15 miles an hour. Well, after I went through the brights, there was a bunch of kids right in the middle of the street. And if I'd have been, hey, let me show you, I'm going to do 35, those kids would have been in danger. But that experience kind of says, we have complex streets and we need to be safe. That's my final comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Busy month, as usual, for everyone up here, always doing something. I had the unique pleasure of going out to Blythe. And Blythe, why? Well, we had a county economic update, and Blythe is interesting right now because sadly the state is mandating the closure of the prison, and they depend on that prison to survive as a city. And why do we care? We care because a city hasn't been closed in Riverside County since 1978, and that was Coachella. They were, Cabazon. They were a city and they got closed down. So we haven't had a city close in this county since then. And the frustrating part about Blythe is their prison is a newer prison. It was built in the 80s. And Norco wants theirs gone so badly because it's a hotel. It needs so much money for renovation purposes. So I've been told by our state legislator that it's not over yet. So luckily there could be opportunity for our friends in Blythe. A lot of us up here serve on regional boards, so we serve with representatives from Blythe. So we've been able to build relationships with them. So when they have issues like this, they look out for us, which is why I'm going to ask this council if we can support a letter for the city of Blythe, supporting their causes. Other cities throughout the pass, and now it's starting to come into Southwest Riverside County, are also supporting the push for the governor to make the swap. Norco wants their prison closed and Blythe wants their prison open. So hopefully we can sign on and get a letter of support to them to help out the city of Blythe. The other thing is I always love to give a real estate update. That's kind of my thing. We have a decrease this month, but overall we had 16 sales in the city of Canyon Lake. a total of just over $11 million. And median price is $640,000. And that's dropped down a little bit due to some of the low inventory on the high end, but overall still pretty good. Average square foot per foot here in Canyon Lake is $329. So Canyon Lake is still doing substantially well, even though rates suck. With that, we are going to go back into closed session, but I want to close the open session component to a good friend of mine, Tim Strack. If any of you know Tim Strack, he's a captain with the Riverside Fire Department. He's an institution in Riverside County, very heavily involved politically in anyone who ran for city council, supervisor throughout Riverside, and he passed away at the age of 52. His ceremony will be tomorrow in Riverside, and it was completely unexpected. He's a hero for so many of us. He's a dear friend, so I want to close the open session in his honor and his name. But we're going to go back into closed session, and the time, if you need it, Mr. City Attorney, is 8:14.
And then, Mayor, I would just say the last item that you have for closed session is not an item that we expect any reportable action out.
This is true.
So the public should not expect us to come back with a report.
Perfect. Thank you.